Hi, everyone. In this video, I wanted to show you the amazing power of AI chatbots and AI assistants. And remember, think of them as your junior risk manager. They can perform the tasks that a junior quantitative risk manager or risk analyst can perform. Just like a junior risk analyst, they can make mistakes, so you have to double check, and the final decision and responsibility are on you in terms of how you use it for actual decision making within the company. For most of my day-to-day tasks, I use one of the three chatbots, or all three simultaneously. It's a raw at AI GPT inside OpenAI. Inside ChatGPT, I have created and made publicly available a raw at AI GPT, which anyone can use. It basically has the same functionality and performance as the broader ChatGPT with one minor difference. On all risk management methodological questions, it has a separate knowledge base, tailor-made and vetted by experienced risk managers. This means it will not give you advice on how to build the best heat map. Instead, it will help you find ways to integrate risk analysis into a contract review, into project cost and schedule planning, into budgeting or planning, into an investment decision, or any other business process or business decision you need to make. I also use a separate standalone risk awareness wisdom bot, which again is trained on Risk Academy blogs, videos, and risk awareness week materials. And sometimes, when it comes to text-based, methodological, or educational interactions, it actually gives better results than ChatGPT's own risk awareness features. I don't know why, because it uses the same engine. But for some reason, it's easier to train a chatbot outside of ChatGPT than inside ChatGPT, go figure. And finally, of course, Google's Gemini Advanced also has calculation and text functionality. For this task, I'm going to use GPT inside OpenAI because it has quantitative calculation capabilities, and I'll use Gemini for some validation and double checking. So first, what I wanted to demonstrate is how to work with data, and that can be any data related to risk management. For example, at the moment, I have data on magnesium sulfate, a raw material used as a reagent in some mines. In some countries, it's considered relatively safe. This is just an illustration that I'm going to use today. You could use any other data, loss data for insurance purposes, incident data for health and safety, equipment maintenance data for operational risk, foreign exchange or inflation data for market risk, and so on. I just want to illustrate to you how to interrogate a file of data, and it doesn't matter how much data it contains, whether a little or a lot. At the moment I think monthly price data for the last 15 years or so. We'll actually find out by asking it. Just like with any human risk analyst, you need to do some homework and prepare the file. If it's a messy file with multiple tabs and inconsistent logic, don't expect AI to figure it out by itself. Pre-clean the data. Make sure it's well structured. There are clear dates, clear values, and headings, and so on. Just make it simpler, just like you would for a human risk analyst. So I'm saying, here is monthly pricing data for magnesium sulfate. Please review the file, describe the content, identify any data integrity issues, and fix them. The first step is to always check that AI was able to load the data into it. Usually, there's a nice picture here, and I don't know why it doesn't show it at the moment. Just check that the data is starting from January 2007, which is consistent. The price is in US dollars, there are no duplicates, no missing values, and it's ready for us to analyze. Now let's start with simple manipulation, because I just want to show you the extent of the power of AI when it comes to data analysis and risk analysis. At the moment, we're not even doing risk analysis, we're just doing some basic data interrogation. Let me show you. The power of AI is that you don't need to have a math PhD to know what you're doing. You're literally having a conversation just like you would with a junior specialist. For example, you can say, okay, Show me the data graphically and check for any trends or seasonality. It's taking some time to do the analysis. Okay, not bad. So this is showing us the data from 2007 until the end of 2022. It's showing us that the price can skyrocket and it looks volatile. This indicates that using this raw material in our production will come with some market risk. Although market risk has somewhat reduced in recent periods, it has some historical volatility. This again brings us to a point where we would normally investigate, and we can actually do this inside ChatGPT as well. We would investigate whether something happened in 2014 that led to significantly reduced volatility. We will investigate all of these things. So there are no noticeable fluctuations over the years. There's an overall increasing trend, then a period of stability and some fluctuation again, as shown here, but no immediately apparent seasonality. Okay, great. Now let's ask some basic questions. Can you please calculate price returns and show me the monthly values, just like you would ask a human? Because what I want to do next is start looking at how to convert this historical price data into a volatility measure that I can use for future decision making. For example, if I'm going to budget for purchasing magnesium sulfate as a raw material, how much do I need? How much flexibility do I need to put in my budget to allow for this volatility? Because if I just put a single value, given the historical volatility, I know that I'm going to be off, since some months the price will be lower and some months the price will be higher. And unless we can lock in the prices through a long-term contract, we will have to account for this volatility in our cash flow. Therefore, our current request will be as follows. Can you please calculate price returns and show me the distribution of returns? Let's see what it does. And just like with a human, this was lightning fast. I mean, too fast because I wanted to share an important message. Just like a human risk analyst, you really don't know where it will break. At the moment, I'm asking questions and it's giving me responses, but it may not always work like that. Sometimes it may need to recalculate multiple times, but it's all about having enough patience and appreciation for what it does. It just performed an analysis that would have taken a human risk analyst much longer to perform. So it calculated the distribution of returns. Basically, this means that from month to month, most of the time the price doesn't change much, but sometimes it can change by 60%, and sometimes it can actually change by 100%. That's a pretty significant risk, so the price can drop by half or double from just month to month. Next, we'll ask if the returns are normally distributed or if there is a better distribution to describe them. Our request could be as follows. Can you please check if the returns are normally distributed, or is there a better distribution to describe them? This helps us see if we can simplify the calculations or if we need to be mindful of other factors. Okay, let's take a look. Normal distribution doesn't look like a good fit. Let's see what it means. The beauty of AI, just like you'd expect from your risk analyst, is that it gives you values, performs tests, and then explains what they mean. Both tests indicate that the monthly returns are not normally distributed, so it suggests fitting other distributions such as log normal or t-distribution, which better capture the characteristics of the data. If you're still unsure, you just ask a follow-up question. Explain this to me in simple terms, or give me some illustrations or examples. You can have a conversation just like you would with a risk analyst, except you don't have to feel embarrassed about it. This is, I think, the huge power of AI. It's an intimate environment between you and the machine where you can interrogate, ask questions, ask follow-up questions, and just dive deeper into the conversation until you fully understand and appreciate what it's saying. Now let's try fitting the log normal and t-distribution. This is just the little pre-work we're doing, and we'll use it later. In the meantime, I'll show you if I can interact with any of the graphs. It's really expanding on functionality, and I think by the time you watch this video, There will be even more functionality available. You'll be able to download these and include them in the memo you're preparing for decision makers. You can make all sorts of modifications. It can give you different types of graphs. You can do interactive graphs, manipulate the data to present conclusions that support decision making. So let's see what it did. T-distribution seems to have a slightly better fit. Let's see if it says anything more. Both provide a better fit than normal distribution, but the T-distribution is our preferred option. Okay, we'll keep this in mind. Now going back to the returns data, let's calculate key risk metrics. But here's a challenge. You may not know which risk metrics are commonly calculated for a typical dataset. The second part of our request will be as follows. Please suggest and brainstorm some risk metrics that would be useful for such data with me first before calculating. Think of AI as your junior risk analyst who just graduated with a master's degree in statistics, quantitative risk analysis, or probability theory. Not only can it do the calculations, but it can also advise you on which calculations need to be performed. This is very powerful. So you say, okay, let's calculate standard deviation, volatility, VAR, CVAR, expected shortfall, super important to capture the average of the worst case scenarios, and other relevant metrics. Sounds great, right? Now please calculate all that you can based on the data provided. Actually, I'm not going to write the second part because I want to show you how to really dive into the data. Let's see if it gives us explanations along with the calculations or just gives the numbers. Either way, if it just gives the calculations, we can always ask for an explanation later. This is great. Now it doesn't explain what the results mean, which is good, because this gives us an opportunity to investigate. First of all, we are using magnesium sulfate as a raw material. So for us, the risk isn't when the price goes down, but when the price increases. Please recalculate VAR and ES, because the current worst-case scenario shows minus 0.44, which I assume means 44% is the worst-case scenario and 53% for the catastrophic historical scenario. But that's an issue if we were selling magnesium sulfate and prices dropped. For us, it's the opposite. We want to calculate the risk of prices increasing. I got a bit distracted with explanations. Let's continue with our request. Please recalculate VAR and ES and show the results as percentages. Explain what this means to a business decision maker who isn't strong in statistics. Also, explain this for both monthly and annual changes. This is important because at the moment, it's calculating month to month based on the loaded data, which is in monthly format. We haven't told it to convert this into annual figures. Since budgets are usually annual, at some point, we'll need to figure out the annual impact. Now it's phrased in a more business-friendly way. VAR 99 and CVAR 99 can probably be ignored since it's unlikely your organization would use such a high confidence interval. You can also ask it to calculate VAR at different confidence intervals. It's entirely up to you. Essentially, it's saying that 95% of the time, month to month, the price can increase by up to 47%, and in the worst months, by as much as 62%. That's month to month. If we're looking at a single year, your budgeting cycle, it could be even more dramatic. Now that number, 275,400%, looks completely unrealistic, so there must be an error in the calculation somewhere. We will try and investigate where the error is. Just like with a human risk analyst, sometimes things break, and we will find where. What it's saying is that there's a 5% chance that the monthly price of magnesium sulfate will increase by more than 47%. This means that in 1 out of every 20 months, the price may jump by this amount or more, while in the other 19 out of 20 months, the increase will be less than 50%.